Good morning, and thank you for joining my channel this morning. This is Lead Bullets for Life. For the past few weeks now, I've been making load developments for lead bullets for 9mm, and my latest creation was the 147 SEMI-WADCUTTER. Well, starting again from left to right, we have the Winchester 115 grain ball, the Lee 102 grain round nose, RCBS 115 grain truncated cone, Lee 125 grain round nose, and my latest creation, the Lee 140 grain SEMI-WADCUTTER in a revolver round that I was able to fire out of my Beretta 9mm. Well, just when you think I'd done it all, I developed another creation. And so here it is, folks, my latest creation in a 9mm cartridge. What you're looking at is a 162 grain RCBS gas check bullet SEMI-WADCUTTER in 3/5/8, and I actually got it to fit in a 9mm casing. Now the overall length of the cartridge is 1.16, which is like maximum length for 9mm, and it fits in my Beretta 92 FS perfectly without any hang-ups. I also tried it in my Smith & Wesson M&P 9mm, and it also functioned without any hang-ups. So I made this dummy round here, and this is a dummy round, by the way, and the weight goes up and down. It's like 169 grain, 170 grain bullet, but this is my latest creation, and I'm really dying to try them out and to see how they fire. But anyways, let me show you some information on where I got the idea from. Okay, here's some information on where I found the idea for the 170 grain 9mm. Under 9mm Para Guide International Ammunition, you click onto that, and this is what you get. Introduction to Collecting a 9mm Luger Cartridge by Lewis Curtis. Anyways, it talks about the origin of the 9mm, who invented it, and when it was developed. It was developed by Mr. George Luger in 1902 at the DWM plant. This is the Deutsche Waffen Munitions plant in Germany. Anyways, it goes down, talks about who used it: Germany, British, Italians, Swiss. Talk about the loads for the 9mm for the past 100 years. Talk about certain type of ball rounds, and here we got some penetrator rounds right here. And a lot of these were identified with color coding. So over here to the right, you will see the German 124 grain ball round, and to the right of that is a German 150 grain and a British 150 grain, and then you have the 170 grain right here, as less has been fired. And what happened was the British had invented this cartridge to use in their sten SMGs with silencers on them. The manufacturer's specs were less than 900 feet per second out of a sten SMG. And over here to the right of it is the post-World War II 155 grain. And the Germans also had a subsonic round for their silenced Smizers and other 9mm handguns and or submachine guns. Okay, so it goes on. It's got 15 pages of all kinds of information. It talks about soft point rounds, hollow point rounds, experimental type rounds. Talks about penetrated rounds, dummy rounds, and what's interesting is they have these wooden blanks right here, and they use wooden bullets, I guess, for blanks, and I don't know how they work, but I take it that anything that's made of wood, it comes out of a barrel, it can't be good for you when it hits you. So here's a few examples. But anyways, go ahead and check out this website. It's got a lot of information about the 9mm if you're interested in 9mm. The 9mm cartridge right now is very, very popular worldwide. It took off, in the United States after 1930, and we used a 115 grain as a base to save lead. So what they did was they concaved the 115 grain, and you were able to get the long bearing surface of 124 grain, but at the weight of a 115 grain. So anyways, that's that. And if you want to look it up, just go under 9mm Parabellum Guide, Introduction. and it's under Introduction to Collecting 9mm Parabellum Luger Cartridge by Lewis Curtis. Okay, so for today's test gun, we'll be using the Beretta 92FS to test out these 170 grain semi-wide cutters, and I know they're going to be a treat and a delight to shoot.
You actually got some. See the one on the left? That's you. The one on the left. And then up. Yeah. Two. The one on the bottom.
Din ako dyan.
The holes are too small, you can't really see. No, I think the head might have already gone off.
So that was our test fire for the 170 grain semi-wad cutter 9mm out of the Beretta 92FS. And as you saw, it accuracy was fair. If you do your part, it'll do its part as well. The load, you know, you're gonna have to experiment on the load, but mine was well below 2.5 grains of red dot. Your mileage will vary, of course. Overall length on mine was 1.110, and it's going to be different from gun to gun. Each chamber is different, each throat is different, so you're going to have to do this at your own risk. Okay, I do not claim any liability for the loads that I make. They're strictly for entertainment purposes only. So of course, be careful, use proper load data when experimenting with different types of loads for the type of handgun you're using. So with mine, I felt that I succeeded in accomplishing what I needed to do with this 170 grain semi-wad cutter. Do I recommend it for everyday shoot? Yeah, you know, I'll be honest with you, it's something I would like to shoot all the time. Basically, I was just duplicating a World War II version of the British 170 grain subsonic round. You know, so in all practicality, I think you should stick with standard, in my opinion anyways, stick with standard weight bullets, 115 up to 147 grain. You know, I know Samson makes 158 grain subsonic rounds for their SMGs in Israel, for the Uzis and other submachine guns like that, and with suppressors on them, of course. But again, it was just experimental. It was just for fun only. And so would I do it again? Sure, I guess I go ahead and make another batch and fire them. But understand that the heavier the bullet goes, the lower the charge and the lower the velocity. So your range for these types of experimental loads are going to be limited. So we were shooting at 15 yards away, and it grew quite well, you know, for 15 yards. I wouldn't try to push it anything further than that. You know, it doesn't have the velocity, and it's only designed strictly for entertainment purposes. Anyway, this is Lead Bullets for Life. Thanks for watching my channel. I hope you learned something today. And if you like what you see and want to see more, please rate, subscribe, and make those comments, please. Anyways, take care. Have a great weekend.